Good evening, everyone. My name is Bruce Johnson, and I serve as the Division Chief of the Auxiliary's Youth Programs Division. This evening, we'll be talking about the Coast Guard Auxiliary Sea Scout Youth Development Initiative, which the Auxiliary calls AuxScout. This is one of a series of AuxScout workshops that will be offered in the coming weeks and months. The workshop schedule is available on our Facebook group and the Sea Scout community of interest on MyCGAux. Before we go further, I'd like to tell you that all of the web links we will be talking about in this workshop will be available to you from a single link at the end of the presentation. So don't worry about copying down web addresses during the workshop. There are a couple of videos on the link page that will only take a couple of minutes each for you to look through, and we'd like you to watch them. Finally, we're allowing time at the end of the workshop for questions. Since we've muted everybody's mic, please type your questions in the chat box and we'll answer them at the end of the workshop. Over the next few minutes, we'll provide you with some background about Sea Scouting, the AuxScout initiative and how to implement it, and what resources are available to help you with it. Sea Scouting is a Boy Scouts of America program open to older youth, ages 13 and have completed the 8th grade through the age of 20, that is focused on nautical activities. It was founded in 1912 and is BSA's longest tenured older youth program. BSA's goal with Sea Scouts is to train youth in responsible citizenship, character development, and self-reliance through participation in a wide range of outdoor activities, educational programs, and at older age levels, career-oriented programs in partnerships with community organizations. Sea Scouting has been open to both young men and young women since 1972. Its goals are to promote these objectives through instruction and practice in recreational boating safety, boating skills, and social and other types of activities. It also promotes STEM education, leadership, community service, and life skills. These objectives, RBS, boating skills, and social events, should look very familiar to any auxiliarist. As a part of the Boy Scouts of America, Sea Scouts' aims and objectives are the same as all other BSA programs. What makes Sea Scouting unique is its focus on seamanship, boating safety, and leadership development while underway. Sea Scout units are called ships. They are anywhere that there are opportunities to have fun on the water, whether on the coast, on rivers, or even on mountain lakes. While all Sea Scout ships share certain similarities, they are as different as the types of water that they boat on. Let me talk a moment about the pillars of the Sea Scout program. The first is seamanship. The best part of Sea Scouts is cruising and mastering the skills that Scouts learn with their shipmates. On board a vessel, they share hands-on experiences as helmsman and navigator, lookout and cook, sail handler and engineers. Sea Scouts plan and conduct their annual long cruises, which really are summer camps underway. These include sailing the Caribbean, cruising to Alaska, fishing, swimming, diving, snorkeling, or anything else that the ship wants to do. The second pillar is scouting. Sea Scouting is a youth-led and adult-mentored program. Elected youth leaders plan and conduct the program, and adult leaders guide and support their efforts as they learn important leadership and life skills. As they gain experience, They'll have an opportunity to contribute as a leader of their ship. Sea Scouts are recognized and rewarded for the things they learn and do, including valuable certifications in scuba, boating safety, life saving, and CPR. Sea Scouts also advance in rank from apprentice to quartermaster. Each certification and level of advancement marks their growth as sailors and as leaders. The third pillar is service. Sea Scouts take service very seriously. Sea Scouts perform various kinds of service, from service to their ship to community service. They participate in service projects such as river and beach cleanup efforts, food drives, and youth programs. Sea Scouts also participate in flag ceremonies and serve as honor guards at various community events. The fourth pillar of Sea Scouting should look very familiar to Coast Guard auxiliaries, and that's social. Sea Scouts provide opportunities to share experiences with other young people who share their interests. As their ship participates in fun and exciting activities like sailing regattas, safety at sea, and rendezvous, they learn and grow. They even have the opportunity to meet Sea Scouts from other parts of the area, the nation, or even the world. So let's spend a few moments talking about the Auxiliary Sea Scout Youth Development Program, or what the auxiliary calls AuxScout. And what we're looking at in this photograph, incidentally, is a photograph of the first Sea Scout ship that is sponsored by a Coast Guard auxiliary flotilla. This one is in North Carolina. So let's take a few moments to see how we've gotten to where we are today. As recently as 2006, the Coast Guard had a junior ROTC program that had 2 units. That program, unfortunately, is now long gone. The Army, Navy, and Air Force all have junior ROTC programs that are high school based, but the Coast Guard does not. There are Sea Cadet, Youth Marines, and Civil Air Patrol programs that admit youth as young as 10. The U.S. Naval Sea Cadets identify the Coast Guard as a partner. The Sea Cadets are funded by the U.S. Navy League and are patterned on the Navy. The Civil Air Patrol is the official U.S. Air Force auxiliary and has both adult and youth cadet programs. While adults fly SAR missions, youth learn about aviation topics. The first Memorandum of Agreement, or MOA, was signed by the Boy Scouts of America and the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary in 2009. It established a framework for cooperation in areas of mutual interest. The Auxiliary and BSA share similar concerns and responsibilities for educating members in a wide variety of boating and nautical subjects and promoting citizenship training and character development. This agreement has encouraged communication and cooperation between the agencies and sharing information and training. Over the years, the 2 organizations experimented in quite a few different things that they wanted to do together, and this encouraged them to develop a new MOA in 2018 between the 2 groups that extends and strengthens the ties between the auxiliary and the Sea Scouts. As a part of the 2018 MOA, the auxiliary has adopted the Sea Scouts as its official youth program. The objective of this MOA and the program is to integrate Sea Scout youth and adults, as well as Sea Scout ships or units, into auxiliary shoreside and underway programs. Strengthening the ties between the 2 groups is mutually beneficial. A stronger relationship allows auxiliary flotillas and divisions to become Sea Scout ship chartered organizations, sometimes referred to as sponsors. This also provides the Sea Scout youth with a broader pool of adult leaders with seamanship skills and training and access to vessels. In addition, auxiliary programs will facilitate advanced science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM-oriented training. There are some specific changes that you need to be aware of. The Sea Scouts are now automatically members of the Coast Guard Auxiliary Association. All of them are now members of that association. Additionally, although members of the general public must be at least 17 years old to join the auxiliary, Sea Scouts who are at least 14 years old may apply for full membership in the auxiliary. They go through the same membership application process as any other applicant. There are some limitations on what Sea Scout auxiliaries who are under the age of 17 can do. They may qualify as auxiliary boat crew, but they may not qualify as a coxswain, aircraft commander, or PWC operator because of legal limitations. Auxiliary flotillas and divisions are encouraged to become chartered organizations or sponsors of Sea Scout ships. District supervision oversees initial development of the auxiliary-sponsored Sea Scout units. So what does it mean that AuxScout is our official youth program? Well, I'm sorry, I think I've already shown this slide. Yes, sorry, I hit the wrong button. For the auxiliary, Sea Scout participation provides the auxiliary with a clearly defined method for teaching younger boaters how to be safe on the water at an age when they're most teachable. It provides potential manpower for carrying out the auxiliary's public affairs mission at boat shows, scout fairs, and boat ramps. It's also a pathway to auxiliary membership and can enhance the auxiliary's ability to reach out to and recruit new constituencies in the recreational boating community. The Coast Guard also has benefits from this relationship. For the Coast Guard, our training young adults to be safe boaters means that America's waterways will be safer. Working with Sea Scouts develops public support for the Coast Guard and its missions, not just among the Sea Scouts, but their parents and their adult leaders. This initiative is also an additional source of potential Coast Guard Academy candidates and enlistees. So what's involved in implementing AuxScout in your district or division? It's important to understand that the Coast Guard Auxiliary sought out this partnership with the Sea Scouts. The auxiliary has been looking for a way to train younger boaters at a time when they are most teachable, which is to say before they have a lifetime of experience doing it the wrong way. The auxiliary is very interested in identifying young adults who share our commitment to community service and service to the nation, and we want to cultivate that civic engagement. We also want to build positive relationships with like-minded young adults and their parents with the expectation that they'll become close allies to the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary. So what should we be doing now to get involved with the Auxiliary Sea Scout Youth Development Program? It's very important to understand what the auxiliary is committed to with the Scouts. The Memorandum of Agreement, or MOA, which you see on the left-hand side of the page here, commits the auxiliary to providing certain types of support to the Sea Scouts. We've adopted the Sea Scouts as our official youth program, and that means making training, leadership, and public affairs support available to the Sea Scouts. The standard operating procedures, or SOP, which you see on the right-hand side of the page, outlines how specifically we should be working with the Sea Scouts. This document was developed by the Chief Director's Office with the involvement of auxiliaries who participated in the pilot rollout this past year. Everything in it has been tested and it works well. Get to know these documents well so that you know what our commitment is and how the Coast Guard is expecting us to implement it. It's very important that all auxiliaries working directly with Sea Scouts take BSA's Youth Protection Training, which is often referred to as YPT. This training explains our responsibilities to protect the young adults we're working with. It also provides strategies that, when followed, will ensure that we have the productive and safe experience working with the Scouts. YPT is available online and takes less than an hour and a half to complete. You don't have to be registered with the Scouts to take this training, and your personal information will only be used to record your training completion. It will not be used for any other purpose. Once you've taken YPT training, save a copy of your completion certificate and have your flotilla commander send it in to DIROX so that it can be entered into your AUX data record. As is the case for all adults working with the BSA youth, this training must be completed every 24 months. Incidentally, if YPT had to be boiled down to one rule, it would be that we should never have one-on-one interactions with BSA youth. This is not just for their protection, it's also for our protection. There are quite a few web resources that have been developed in support of this initiative. I'd like to take a moment to talk about a few of them that will help you to move forward with this. The two main social media groups are Facebook and MyCGAux. There also are two websites that I'll talk about. Let's start with Facebook. The AuxScout Facebook group is very active and involves both auxiliary and Sea Scout participants. It focuses on best practices for how the Sea Scouts and auxiliary work together. Messages are screened before they're posted, so you'll only have to see messages that are on topic. A related group is MyCGAux, Auxiliary Sea Scout Community of Interest. This is open to all auxiliarists and is a source of official communication from auxiliary national leadership. It's also a great place to ask questions of the auxiliaries youth programs division staff. Beyond these social media groups, please take the time to become very familiar with AuxB Wiki and the Sea Scouts BSA websites. AuxB Wiki provides a vast amount of information about how to work with the Sea Scouts and what the Coast Guard's official policy is when working with the Scouts. The Sea Scouts BSA website, needless to say, focuses on what Sea Scouting is and provides resources for implementing the program. So an important first step in moving forward with this is to appoint district and division AuxScout staff officers. These individuals are responsible for knowing the auxiliary's AuxScout policies and best practices and working with local flotillas and divisions to implement them. The DSOAS and SOAS establish working relationships with Sea Scout leaders and local Scout councils, and assure that auxiliaries are made aware of Sea Scout and auxiliary training opportunities. Now this page provides a number of additional things, and I'll be showing you what this looks like in a minute. The web links here, and again, they will be in a link at the end that you'll want to copy down. You don't need to copy these down. One is linked to a database that will tell you what Sea Scout ships are in your area. The second one helps you to find the local Scout Council, and the third one is a really neat map that I will save as a treat at the end, because you'll really like to see what it shows. Part of the working successfully with the Sea Scouts is knowing who the right person is to work with. On the Sea Scout side, the principal point of contact is the regional Commodores. There are 4 BSA regions, and you'll probably notice that these regions don't line up with our Coast Guard auxiliary borders. Don't let that scare you off. For most districts, it's going to mean that you'll be working with more than one region. Of the 4 regional Commodores, 2 of them are very active Coast Guard auxiliaries. So what training is available for those who are interested in getting involved in this effort? Well, there are 2 principal sources, as you might imagine. The Scouts have a broad range of training available. A great place to start is to go to the Sea Scout Leader training page on the Sea Scouts BSA website. Several courses are described and linked to there. Some of these courses are available online. In addition to YPT training, you should plan on taking the Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training very early on. There are many 15 to 60-minute workshops recorded on the Sea Scout YouTube channel. These workshops focus on practical best practice techniques on topics that will be of interest to auxiliaries working with Sea Scouts. There are also many Scout activity safety courses online. Depending on how you'll be working with the Scouts, you may want to take the Safety Afloat and Safe Swim Defense training. Each is very straightforward and takes less than an hour to complete. The weekend Sea Badge Conference is held regionally and focuses on strategies for teaching and managing youth-led Sea Scout program. Some Sea Badge conferences will be held over the next couple of years that are specifically focused on auxiliary trainings. They're fun and really informative, and as those dates and locations are identified, they will be announced both on the Facebook page as well as on my CG Aux. From the auxiliary, several workshops have been developed that can be delivered live at district and sector training conferences. The National Youth Programs Division can provide trainers who will be able to mentor local members. Online workshops on a variety of topics are being scheduled in 2019 and 20. They'll be announced ahead of time over Facebook and my CG Aux. There are several AuxScout experts whom you can bring in to speak on a variety of topics. We'd just like to ask that you plan ahead, because there's quite a lot of interest in this initiative, and we just need to schedule them so that they're where you need them to be when you need them to be. Additionally, the youth program staff are available for coaching on special topics. Contact us and we'll match you up with the best person to meet your needs. So I'd like to take a few moments to talk about the best place to get started in working with the Sea Scouts. All of the activities and strategies that I'm about to talk about have been tested successfully around the country. They work very well, and we have lots of information that will help you to be successful doing this in your flotilla or division. One strategy is to pair up with existing Sea Scout ships. There are hundreds of ships all over the country, and many would welcome the opportunity to work with you. This can be as informal as occasional visits to teach special topics like navigation or radio communications, or a more formal commitment to provide auxiliaries as adult leaders and trainers, and setting up underway training opportunities on Sea Scout and auxiliary vessels. Building a partnership with one or more local Sea Scout ships might involve holding joint vessel safety check events, public affairs booths, or just having informal picnics. Remember that the bigger the commitment, the bigger the potential for rewards. If you think that another flotilla will do this for you, the other flotilla will be the one that will have the benefit from it. This is a great opportunity to introduce young people to what the Coast Guard Auxiliary is and what we do, and possibly getting involved in the auxiliary or getting interested in the Coast Guard as a career. Another way of getting involved with the Sea Scouts is to start a Sea Scout ship. There are lots of locations where auxiliary flotillas exist, but there are no Sea Scout ships. If your area fits that description, there is a process for setting up flotilla or division-sponsored Sea Scout ships. AuxScout Wiki and the Sea Scouts BSA website both have lots of information about how to do this. Contact your local Scout Council or regional Sea Scout Commodore to get help. Additionally, Bart Knapp of my Youth Programs Division staff is an expert on working through the process. He can give you a lot of pointers that will help you be successful. Just ask for his help. This is a great opportunity to strengthen your flotilla by working with the Sea Scouts, and I can tell you in my own district that one of the new Sea Scout ships that is sponsored by a flotilla really has helped the flotilla turn itself around. The flotilla had been struggling, and now that they're working with the Sea Scouts, they seem to have a newfound focus of their energies, and the enthusiasm in the flotilla has really risen dramatically. It's been wonderful to see it. Another way to work with the Sea Scouts is to have joint public affairs activities. The Coast Guard wants us to work with the Sea Scouts to promote recreational boating safety and our partnership as well. We can do this at boat shows, booths at boat supply stores and boat ramps, at BSA Council Scout shows, or even Order of the Arrow conclaves. A great place to start is working with the local ship, the local Scout Council, or the area Sea Scout leadership. And I included this photograph here. It shows my district commander, Rear Admiral Smith, who worked with the Sea Scout ship in Portsmouth, Virginia on a recent public affairs activity. He is totally gung-ho on this and sees the value both for the auxiliary and for the Coast Guard in working with the Sea Scouts. Another great activity is called Safety at Sea. This Sea Scout auxiliary activity has been very successfully held around the country for many years. This event usually is hosted by the Coast Guard active duty and auxiliary staff and provides the Sea Scouts with an opportunity to train on safety techniques and equipment that they often don't have available to them. Skills include damage control trainers, firefighting, P6 pumps, man overboard drills, exposure suits, live flare training, radio communications, and marine environmental protection. Safety at sea events usually involve Coast Guard and auxiliary recruiters as well. Everyone has a great time, and the Sea Scouts leave energized and enthused. Speaking from personal experience, so do the Coasties and the auxiliaries, who have a lot of fun working with the Scouts and working together. We also provide currently teach Sea Scouts in a broad range of seamanship topics. Among the opportunities is auxiliary boat crew training. Information about this is on AuxScout Wiki. Additionally, the requirements for auxiliary boat crew qualification have been mapped to the Sea Scout advancement requirements, and where they're the same or similar, that information is available on AuxScout Wiki. This makes it really easy for auxiliary boat crew instructors to teach the Coast Guard's way of operating watercraft while helping Sea Scouts meet their rank requirements. And then, of course, we can do joint waterway cleanups. The Scouts have marine environmental protection advancement requirements, and of course, one of the Coast Guard's mission is marine environmental protection. The opportunities there, I think, are pretty obvious. So I'd like to take just a moment to talk about my staff. The National Youth Programs Division staff is here to help you. This is a list of the current members of the staff. We have someone coming on board shortly to handle the program archives. We're there to help you be successful. Just look them up in Aux directory, and we're here to make you successful. So there are three really important auxiliary AuxScout communication avenues, and those are AuxScout Wiki, Facebook, and MyCGAux. AuxScout Wiki has a large amount of reliable official guidance on AuxScout best practices. This will ordinarily be the go-to place to find out what's okay to do and how to do it. The Facebook AuxScout group is a communication forum where auxiliaries and Sea Scout leaders can share news on upcoming events, training opportunities, and local successes. Links are also provided to useful program resources and training. The MyCGAux Community of Interest Forum is restricted to auxiliaries working with Sea Scouts. This forum is led by Bruce Johnson, Youth Programs Division Chief. Any official news about program updates or policy decisions will appear here first. Now here's the URL that I was talking about at the beginning of the presentation. So you might want to write this down. It's tinyurl.com/AuxScoutLinks2, and the AUXSCOUT is all uppercase. All of the other letters are lowercase. So tinyurl.com/AuxScoutLinks2. And if you go to that address, you'll have a handout that's just a little over a page long that has about 20 web links that you'll find really useful. So before we get to the questions, I want to show you a few of these web resources so that you're aware of what you should be looking for. Just looking, yes, we have the right thing up. This is the AuxScout Wiki page for Sea Scouts, and it actually links to a whole bunch of other pages on AuxScout Wiki, as well as a variety of other resources. There are links to the FAQs, frequently asked questions, links to members of my staff who can help you on a variety of topics. Here are links to the Memorandum of Agreement, the standard operating procedures, and the executive summary. We'll also have a schedule of upcoming online workshops on this page, along with login information. I also want to show you on this page, just going down a little bit further, there are some day one questions that we expected would come up quite often. For the auxiliary audience, we had questions: what should my district be doing to get started? What should my division be doing to get started? What choices does my flotilla have for supporting Sea Scouts, and what does my flotilla or division need to do to organize a Sea Scout ship? And I'm just going to click on one of these links to show you what a typical response page like that looks like. Basically, each of these pages has a very simple step-by-step procedure that you want to go through. In most cases, there are links to other workshops that we've developed. Currently, most of them are available either as online courses or PowerPoint presentations, but as we present them online, we're recording them, and the recordings will be posted and linked to, and I'll show you where all of that happens. And then there are resources that will provide additional information so that you can pursue that topic. Now, this is the page I was talking about a moment ago, available AuxScout training. I'll click on that, and here is a page on available training. The first section is workshops for auxiliaries. The second section is workshops for Sea Scouts, and then there is a third section, Sea Scout related training for all audiences. And as you see, as we hold these workshops, we're recording the workshops, and we link to them on the page. So as we do these live, we'll record them and make them available for people who are unable to join us at the regularly scheduled time for the workshops. So that's all I wanted to show you on AuxB Wiki right at the moment. Here is the Sea Scouts BSA web page, and again, there's a huge amount of information that you'll want to have a look at and find out more about. I would particularly pull down the menu for program and also for resources, or you might want to click the link for leaders. Lots of great stuff here, and none of it is written, it's not a great Shakespearean novel. It's written in small chunks of information so that you can get to the answer very quickly. Now, here is the Facebook group I've been talking about. If you go to facebook.com/groups/AuxScout, it will take you here. This group's only been around for about 3 or 4 months, but we already have 472 people subscribing to it. It's been quite active, but I'd say the level of activity reflects the enthusiasm that people have. People in both the Sea Scout program and the auxiliary are really excited about this opportunity to work together. I think it's going to be a great opportunity that will help strengthen both groups. Here is the MyCGAux community of interest for Sea Scouts auxiliary youth development, and we've had a number of posts so far on this. It's still a fairly small group, but I would urge you, if you're interested and you do MyCGAux, to subscribe to this group, and it will be a great way for us to push out information to people who have an interest in this topic. Now, here's the next one I wanted to show you. Here is the map of all of the auxiliary flotillas and Sea Scout ships in the country. And you can see that they're all over the place. I'm going to zoom in on my own area. I live in Annapolis, Maryland. So we'll go to the Middle Atlantic states here. And we'll really zoom in pretty well. The dots are Coast Guard auxiliary flotillas, and the stars are Sea Scout ships. And I'm sure you can see that there are big areas where there are flotillas, but there are no ships. For example, on Maryland's eastern shore, there isn't a single ship in that part of the country. There are 2 Coast Guard auxiliary divisions, and there are no ships. So this would be a great chance for these flotillas to get something going for the Sea Scouts, which will be a great thing for them because almost all of those flotillas are fairly small and they really could use the help that the Sea Scouts would provide to them. So if you're interested in finding out more about uh, for example, each of these dots has information about where the flotilla meets and who they are and how to link to their website. And the stars do the same thing. Let's go to, for example, this Sea Scout ship in Columbia, Maryland. Um, it tells you where and where the ship meets. And if there is a website associated with the ship, we've included that as well. Unfortunately, BSA doesn't capture the website information, so I think that's going to be a work in progress for us over time. But this is a great way for you to see where the opportunities are. If your area has a number of Sea Scout ships, you might want to start by reaching out to the ships and see what you can do to help them. So there's the auxiliary flotilla and Sea Scout ship map. Incidentally, we have gotten a couple of reports from people that their flotillas appear to be missing. And actually in both cases, what happened was there were two flotillas that meet in the same location. And I'll show you a great example of this. This location here is Coast Guard Station Annapolis, and there are two flotillas that meet in this location. You can really only see the dot for one of the two because the other one is at exactly the same place. So I don't know any way to get around that because the map we've tried to make the map totally accurate or as accurate as we can make it. And the other thing that I want to mention to you is that as we were building this map, we discovered that there are an awful lot of flotillas whose meeting location information is either incomplete, out of date, inaccurate, or totally missing. We used AUX data as the source of that information, and I hope that all of you will just take a few moments to have a look at whether your flotilla's information in AUX data is complete and accurate and up to date. And if it isn't, have your IS officer get that updated and then contact us and we'll update your information on the map as well. So that's the map. Here's the page that will explain to you about youth protection training. This, incidentally, is the only BSA training that the Coast Guard is tracking in your AUX data training record. There are other courses that we're encouraging you to take, but this is the one that the Coast Guard is particularly anxious to know that you've taken. This is the Coast Guard asking us to take this training. It doesn't take that long to do, and if you would rather have it taught in a live environment, most Scout councils can do that as well. So if you'd prefer to have somebody come into, say, your flotilla meeting to put on this training, you can arrange for that either by working through the Sea Scouts or calling up the local Scout Council and explaining who you are and that you need to have the youth protection training. Here is the page on AuxB Wiki on chartering a Sea Scout ship. You can see that it walks you through what training you need, what resources are available, what you need to do on this. The SOP explains it in pretty dry terms. This, I hope, will make it a little bit easier to understand what they're expecting you to do. And then we've already talked about the upcoming workshops. So at this point, what I'm going to do is go back to, well, I'm going to minimize this and try to Yeah, from current slide. Okay, questions. All right, so I see that we have quite a few questions in the chat box. Um, just be patient with me. I'm reading them for the first time, and I will do my best to get through them as quickly as I can. Okay, this one person is asking whether this presentation is available for people if they want to download them later. If you go to that page that said what training is available, there's a link for this presentation. There's actually two versions of this presentation. The one that we're looking at today is Workshop 102 Alpha. 102 has a couple of very brief videos. They're like 2 minutes apiece, and we chose to forgo those on the live workshop because we wanted to leave more time for questions. But if you put this on in your flotilla or your division, you might want to include the version with the videos. They're probably more interesting than listening to me. But they're very well done and they really get to the point very quickly. So yes, you can download them. They're available on the workshop page. All right, let's see. Youth protection training, I think I'm getting a question on, is youth protection training mandated for everybody at the flotilla, at the flotilla level? And the answer is no. If, for example, your flotilla chooses to charter a Sea Scout ship, there are certain members of the flotilla that do have to take it. The flotilla commander, vice commander, the FSO HR has to take it, the FSO OP, the FSO MT, I believe, are the ones who have to take it. And if anybody takes Sea Scouts out on training missions. For example, you do a training patrol and you take a few Sea Scouts out as guests, then the auxiliaries who are aboard that vessel will also have to take the youth protection training. But no, it's not required for everybody. We are suggesting, though, that anybody who has an interest in working with the Sea Scouts just go ahead and take this training. It's really pretty painless. There's no test at the end of it, and you'll really be glad that you did take it because it alerts you to some things that you need to know about working with teenagers so that you can protect them, but just as importantly, so that you can protect yourself. And as I said, the Coast Guard expects us to be following those youth protection rules. Let's see. Can you share any insights as to why we have district and division staff officers for the program, but not at the flotilla level? Well, the reason is that's all I could sell. When you're developing a new program, perfection is the enemy of good enough. And I was able to sell the powers that be on having district level. We also can have ADSOs, and we can have division. And there's no reason why a flotilla commander can't appoint an ad hoc Sea Scout liaison for their flotilla. So if they want to do that, they can. It's just not something that will appear in AUX data. Let's see. How long does it take to take the Sea Scout training for auxiliary members that want to do it? Well, youth protection takes an hour and a half. If you do the Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training, I think that takes about 4 hours, but it's broken up into chunks that are about 10-15 minutes long. So if somebody wants to only do 1 or 2 sessions at a time, you can do that. The other way to go about that is that we can bring in Sea Scout trainers to district conferences, sector workshops, that sort of thing. at our most recent D-Train for 5th Southern, we had a couple of Sea Scout trainers come in and put on the Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training. And frankly, that's a better way to do it. And the reason why is you're in a group with other people who, if you don't think of the question, somebody will think of a question, and you can ask your questions and get answers right on the spot. You can't do that when you're doing an online course, but whatever way works for you, the Sea Scouts will be happy to come in and put on that training for you. So I'm just looking over the references or looking over the questions. Okay. Okay, I have a question. Can all BSA members participate or just Sea Scouts only? Let me see if I understand this question. The early admission into the auxiliary for 14 to 16-year-olds, that is for Sea Scouts only. That was done deliberately by the Coast Guard and senior auxiliary membership, because they felt that the Sea Scout program was the part of the Boy Scouts of America that was very laser focused on the things that the auxiliary was interested in. And so that's the story there. Certainly, we are encouraged to do things with other programs of the Boy Scouts of America. So, for example, you might want to take one of the coastie robotic tugs to a Cub Scout event and promote boating safety there. There are all kinds of things that we can do. For example, I've been going for years to our Scout Council's summer camp, where they have something like 180 canoes and rowboats and sailboats and so on, and I do vessel safety checks there every year. The council loves me for it because it helps them to identify what boats need to be maintained, and of course my SO VE loves me for it because I get a lot of vessel safety checks in every year. So I have another comment here. So if I have a kid in a BSA troop that can participate in auxiliary functions if Sea Scout ships are there. If a scout wants to participate with the auxiliary, they need to be a Sea Scout. So what we want to do is encourage them to join a Sea Scout ship. And if there isn't a Sea Scout ship already there, that might be something that the flotilla might want to consider doing, is to organize a Sea Scout ship for the kids in the community who have an interest in the stuff that we do. There are plenty of resources to help make that happen, and that will give you a better return on your investment of time, energy, and interest. So I'll give everybody another minute or so. If you have any additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, I think I caught all of the questions. If you haven't gotten your question answered yet, please don't hesitate to email me after the fact. My email address is bruce.johnson@cgauxnet.us. All right, I see another question. Okay, Bruce, please explain to all the new policy regarding photos of groups. I think what the question really is regarding photographing Sea Scout youth or adults. And the reason why that's been sort of a point of confusion is that the SOP was issued on November 1st, and a conflicting piece of policy guidance was given out nationally that has since been retracted. So what it says in the SOP is what what is the policy, which is to say that if we're photographing any Sea Scout youth or adults, we need to get the ANSC 7020 alpha form completed. Now, what I would recommend is that you get that form, scan it into a PDF and save it there. What I'm expecting is that sometime in the very near future, a follow-up announcement will be made as to where those completed 7020 alphas need to be sent. But we do indeed need to have those forms. I believe that we only need to have them done once for any individual because there's no expiration date on them. So if you get the form once, that should be enough. We're also suggesting to the skippers, the unit leaders of the Sea Scout ships, that they hold on to a copy of those forms as well, so that if it ever comes up for discussion, that they're available. What we don't want to have happening is we don't want those forms just kind of floating around because they include PII of minors, and both the Boy Scouts of America and the Coast Guard are really emphatic that they don't want that information just floating around in an uncontrolled way. So we'll be giving you more guidance on that as soon as the final decision is made as to where those forms need to go. I have a question: what makes this different from AUP, Auxiliary University Program? Well, this is for Sea Scouts who are ages 14 to 20. AUP is for auxiliaries, are for college students who want to get involved with the auxiliary. And AUP is totally subsumed by the Coast Guard Auxiliary. The Sea Scout program is our youth program, but it's not just our youth program. There are other organizations that work with the Sea Scouts, including, for example, the U.S. Power Squadron, the American Canoe Association, and a lot of churches, synagogues, PTAs, and so on. Okay, I think I have a comment from a DSOPA that the requirements are unclear and require additional guidance. And yes, I agree. And yes, there will be additional guidance coming down as soon as that other piece is put together. And Jeff, if you wouldn't mind sending me what your questions are, I'll make sure that those questions get addressed with the follow-up communication on this. I agree with you that we could clear that up a little better. So we're just about out of time. Unless there are any other questions, I'd like to thank you all for joining me this evening. This has been a great time, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you for your interest in working with the Sea Scouts. This is going to be a great opportunity for these kids, but it's also going to be a great opportunity for us to broaden our reach and potentially make more people aware of who the Coast Guard Auxiliary is, what our message is, and what great people we are. So thank you very much for joining me this evening, and good night.